Northwest Outdoorsman is presented by Worksharp.
Man, this looks like a good spot.
This week on the Northwest Outdoorsman,
You killed your bear a couple years ago, right down there.
Rich Harrod hunts his first black bear in the deep canyons of eastern Oregon.
There's a sow with two little cubs. It's kind of blonde color.
Yeah, I think there's a bear bedded right there. Get that other rock.
The Northwest Outdoorsman, presented by Worksharp, is brought to you by Max Lure, Whitewater Lodge, Lodestar Outfitters, Procure Bait Sense, Valley Marine, Micklich. Bears are numerous in the Pacific Northwest, with over 25,000 in Oregon alone. They are formidable creatures, reaching lengths up to 6 feet and weights near 500 pounds. Hunting bears in the big canyons of northeast Oregon can challenge even the most prepared hunter. Rich Harrod acquired his first bear tag ever and is up to the challenge. The country is beautiful, the canyons are steep, and the bears don't disappoint for this first-time bear hunter.
Bear down. How pretty is that? Gosh. Well, I'm not really sure why I've waited all these years to hunt a bear. You know, I'm in my 50s now, and there just aren't too many things that I can claim as a first. Big country, a lot to see. How cool is that view? Let's go right over here. You know, over the past couple years, I've joined my brother and our friends Brett and Chris on their bear hunts and really enjoyed the experience. The auto lock? Yeah. Whoa, big fella.
On a glass drum, we'll stay down there for a while.
My brother Ron shot a really cool cinnamon colored bear about 8 years ago, and I was lucky enough to film it. Again, that was just such a great experience, and it was at that time that I started accumulating points so I could hunt for myself.
Yes, baby. Bear down. You scared, Grizz Pilgrim?
This is where you killed your bear a couple years ago, right down there. I think one of the things I like most about bear hunting is the fact that you glass a lot. And so you go out on these points and you look for movement anywhere and just this beautiful country. And it's an opportunity just to sit back and take it all in. Well, guess it's time to head back. We didn't see anything that evening, so we just headed back to camp. The next morning, we hunted a different canyon, but it's one that I've hunted before. I really like this spot because when you hike in, we walk by this old cabin, and I always just imagine, you know, being an old pioneer, living in this cabin in this really remote country. We often see deer and elk in the field. This is a fun spot to hunt. We sat down and started glassing the opposite hill, and we could see that face over there really well because morning sun was shining on it. We weren't there too long, and then Ron walked down a ways and spotted this blonde bear, and he called me on the radio.
There's a sow with two little cubs. It's kind of blonde color. If you come right down that point where we used to glass on the other side, she's sticking out like a beacon right in the open there.
Okay, I'll look for her.
Going uphill, about the third rim rock.
Eating those balsam roots. I watched this bear for quite a while. It had 2 cubs and they weren't this year's cubs. So in Oregon, this would be a legal bear to hunt because the cubs would be old enough that if they lost mom, they could make it on their own. But for some reason, I just wasn't comfortable with it, and it's kind of one of those things that if you're just not comfortable with whatever it is that you're hunting, it's better off just to pass. We headed on back to camp all through the afternoon, and while we were at camp, I just kept thinking to myself, maybe I shouldn't have passed that bear up. So we headed out for our evening hunt, and Ron took me to a place I'd never been before, and as it turns out, it's the very place that my nephew Boone had shot his bear earlier this spring.
Coming up after the break,
Hey Ron, look down there. It looks like there's something bedded.
the Northwest Outdoorsman, presented by Worksharp, is brought to you by Max Lure, Whitewater Lodge, Lodestar Outfitters, Procure Bait Sense, Valley Marine, Micklich. Welcome back to Eastern Oregon.
So we headed out for our evening hunt, and Ron took me to a place I'd never been before, and as it turns out, it's the very place that my nephew Boone had shot his bear earlier this spring. Ron had spotted a bear way down the drainage that we weren't going to be able to get a stalk on, so we just sat there until the sun hit the ridge, and then we hiked back up and headed back to camp. Mosquitoes eating me up. I just really enjoy being in our spring camp. The scenery's beautiful, the flowers are coming up, and it's just a really fun place to be after being cooped up all winter. One of the things we do on this trip is a lot of fun is we always cook homemade meals and we try to outdo each other a little bit.
You gotta watch this, it's got a lot of sugar on it.
We always have a lot of fun sitting around the campfire, eating the good food that we have made, and just reconnecting with the outdoors. The next morning, we headed out to another canyon that Ron had never taken me to before. Holy smokes. Okay. We hadn't glassed very long. Hey Ron, look down there. It looks like there's something bedded. Can't really tell what it is. What do you think? Maybe we should put the spotting scope on it. Yeah, I think there's a bear bedded right there. It looked like a really good bear, and it was bedded there, and so it seemed like we were going to have time to maybe get down there and set up and make a shot across the canyon. It looks like a good bear. I think we should try to go down, see if maybe we can get a little bit closer down there. It's still going to be a really long shot, I think. Man, that hill looks steep. Holy smokes. Here we go. We started down that steep ridge line, and every now and then I just look and see, I could still see that bear was bedded. No, he's still in his bed. He had quite a ways to go down, so let's just keep going. We were getting further and further down. My heart started pumping more and more. Still gonna be a long ways, holy crap. We got to a spot where it looked like it might be a good place to just set the rifle up, and so we set up there real quick. He was still in his bed. Just need to get lucky, Ron. He was about 500 and some yards in his bed, so he had to come down a ways. I'm a bow hunter, and shooting a rifle much over 400 yards would be, you know, a pretty good feat for me, and we were hoping we would just get lucky, really. That's good. He's coming down. 490. Come out right in that brush patch. It's like 430. All right, Ron, I'm gonna go down to that lower rock. He was kind of walking out, and then all of a sudden he turned and he headed down into the draw. And we thought, man, if he just were to cross that draw and come into that opening, you know, he would give us a pretty good shot there. And we started looking down the hill, and there was this little rock outcropping.
Coming up after the break,
That worked out.
the Northwest Outdoorsman, presented by Worksharp, is brought to you by Max Lure, Whitewater Lodge, Lodestar Outfitters, Procure Bait Sense, Valley Marine, Micklich. Welcome back. Rich has a bear in his sights.
All right, Ron, I'm gonna go down to that lower rock. He was kind of walking out, and then all of a sudden he turned and he headed down into the draw. And we thought, man, if he just were to cross that draw and come into that opening, you know, he would give us a pretty good shot there. And we started looking down the hill, and there was this little rock outcropping. And Ron and I decided that maybe I should just take off and go. That bear came out in the meadow, and he just put his face right in a bunch of balsam root flowers and gave me a perfect shot. I'll tell you what, boy, there's nothing like it. My heart was just pounding like crazy. I mean, I just haven't gotten that excited hunting for a long time. I mean, it was really exciting. How about that? Whew. Oh boy, my heart was pounding. He rolled pretty hard. I mean, he just like ragdolled through that brush, and I lost him. I couldn't see him anymore. Could you see him from where you were? I was a little surprised when we headed down just how far we still had to go down into the bottom. Got down in the bottom and crossed a little creek and up the other side. Looks pretty down. I was pretty sure that bear had expired after my first shot, but it is a bear, and so we weren't really taking any chances. Oh yeah. Bear down. Ouch. Definitely. All right. Boy, kind of chocolate, huh? This really cool color. Bear down. I love it. Yeah, he's pretty good size. Work on him a little bit here. A little bit of rub. Not bad though. That hillside over there is steep. Might be a while. It was just a really beautiful spot down in there. I mean, we were away from everyone and everything. It was such a neat experience, and it was fun to share it with my brother. You know, he had bear hunted before, but the fact that he was with me when I got my first bear, you know, that was pretty special. Oh. Finally got it quartered again, got the head and everything and loaded up, and we split it. Took half the meat each, but then I had the head and the hide, and it was a heavy load.
Up, he says.
Crossed back over the creek and got partway up the other side, and my hip and back were just killing me. So I dropped a little bit of weight and went ahead and went on up.
Coming up after the break,
He's a tough bird.
the Northwest Outdoorsman, presented by Worksharp, is brought to you by Max Lure, Whitewater Lodge, Lodestar Outfitters, Procure Bait Sense, Valley Marine, Micklich. Welcome back. With the bear hunt complete, Howard Harrod joins the hunting camp to chase some gobblers.
I can feel it. The fun thing about where we hunt is that even though I filled my tag, the hunt is not over. And so, you know, my dad came up and I was able to join Ronnie and Dad for a little turkey hunting.
Does too. Is that what that is? Yep. That bump right there?
After Rich shot his bear, I came up for a little turkey hunt. We went out that evening after I got there and out behind the camp.
And I had to bench press myself up out of there.
Yeah.
And I hurt my shoulder. It'll heal.
Takes longer to heal. Ron came up and hunted with us a little while.
Because his fence is right there. They don't come through fences.
Called for some birds and had no response, so went back to the camp. The next day, we went out to another spot and called. Didn't get any responses there either. Drove around, set up 2 or 3 times, called. So Ronnie had to go back to work, so Rich and I went out, and we went out in a place where we'd set up before and saw birds.
Maybe we could just set up right there. Dad and I had a bird located, but we were having a really hard time getting close to that bird.
Yeah, I say at least we move up a little ways.
So we set up and we did hear a bird at a distance from us, and we couldn't get him to come in.
Maybe if we can come right back to this spot here.
Decided to just put him to sleep and maybe go after him the next morning.
Kind of early in the morning for a turkey.
So the next morning we decided to go back out, set up and everything, started calling, and realized there was a great big draw there.
Maybe I should have went a little further out.
And he wouldn't have come across that draw. So we sat there for a while and called, and he went out on the ridge out on the far end of it, and we never got to see him at all.
This turkey is from 5 o'clock this morning to 5 o'clock this evening, and we're still hunting.
So we decided to go over there where that bird went out on that ridge and set up.
We sat there for quite a while, just kind of taking in all the spring beauty. And then pretty soon, this white-tailed doe came out.
That evening we just sat out there and it was just beautiful. We had a sunset, couldn't believe it was just evenings that you don't forget.
You know, bagging a turkey would have just been icing on the cake, but it was just a lot of fun for me to spend time with my dad and my brother. You know, for me, just being in the woods with spring all around us, it's really something special. And I just can't wait to go back and do it again.
It's now time for another Harrod's Cookhouse recipe, brought to you by Miklich, the Spokane Spice Company since 1948. Today we are making Pinoy-style bear skewers. Start by cutting bear steaks into 2-inch pieces. Place the cut meat into a sealable bag and season with Harrod's Cookhouse Northwest Steak Seasoning. Add the following ingredients to make a marinade: onion, minced garlic, lemon juice, soy sauce, vinegar, orange juice, sweet chili sauce, ketchup, sriracha sauce, brown sugar, and salt and pepper. Incorporate ingredients and refrigerate for 24 hours. Assemble skewers with alternating bear meat and onions. Cook on hot grill until meat exceeds 160 degrees. Serve with your favorite sides and enjoy. For this and other great wild game recipes, visit the Harrod Outdoors website and YouTube channel.
A person always remembers their first deer, their first elk, and usually you're with your dad, and that feeling just never goes away. And you know, to be 50-some years old and have my first bear and have some of those same feelings that when I was a kid, I mean, I don't know, it really couldn't be beat.